Hello friends, I hope you all are doing well, and with this I welcome you today to the new module on letter writing for the MOOC titled Introduction to Functional English. This module shall attempt to help you further enhance your writing communication through creative expression and skills in both formal and informal formats. While the previous module dealt with the basic ideas and best practices of writing as well as editing, this module shall exclusively deal and discuss letter writing as a mode of writing communication that could be considered as a key channel to provide information, greeting, and decision either through a formal or informal manner using print or paper. Letter writing has continued to be a traditional way of communicating one's thought, especially in official communication. Letters are still therefore considered an important means of communication that may appear to have taken a backseat in the digital era, but its relevance is undeniable. In fact, in official sector, it is still seen as an important channel of communication between people who are geographically distant from one another. In earlier times, when the telephone and emails were not available, the only means of communication between people were through letters. Letter writing, therefore, is a skill, my dear learners, that you need to develop through constant practice. Keeping these ideas in consideration, this module shall focus on the following objects as the basis of the study. First, to understand the basic concept of letter writing and its chief characteristics. Second, to highlight the key features of a letter to help you write good quality letters. Third, to examine the various components of letter writing so that you can understand the structure better. Fourth, to discuss the different types of letters through sample and practices. Fifth, to outline the basic skills of effective letter writing skills. Before proceeding with this module is what is actually letter writing. While letters may have been an old-fashioned style of writing until the digital era, the period is also witnessing how this technological shift in the 20th century has left most of us feeling less sociable and more isolated. Such a realization in small pockets have resulted in reviving the methods of traditional communication and social relationship. In fact, letter writing today, my dear learners, is seen as a unique activity in today's era, for it allows one to stay away from the screen, which consequently allows us to have ample time to engage in critical self-reflection that can help us increase our mental sharpness and emotional stability. Letters could then be seen as a means to strengthen and improve your relationship, dear learners, with yourself and also with others. These added benefits of letter writing have led it to its gaining back to popularity, for its value is seen as an integral part of communication in the era of digital writing. Letter writing is a significant channel of correspondence between two individuals or groups who live in different geography. Earlier, when phone and emails were not invented, the lone method of correspondence between individuals was done through letters. The main objective of letter writing is to share news, information, and greeting. A letter is a composed message that can be manually written or imprinted on paper, and writing a letter is an expertise or skill that is to be learned or developed. Therefore, my dear friends, this module becomes a very significant part for your communication skills development, both in academical and professional sector. Through this module, we will try to talk about the proper structuring of the letter. Generally, there are two types of letter, which is formal and informal. A formal letter is composed or written for any official and business communication, while informal letters are personal letters which can be used to communicate between friends and family. Letter writing is an art. It is nowadays an essential part of life personal as in professional ways of conducting your ideas and messages to the world. It is one of the most important arts of civilized life. It is an art that every educated man should develop to help others understand and reasons of making certain decisions in certain situations. We have to write many letters in our day-to-day life. Hence, it is desirable to know what makes these letters attractive and impactful. The values of a good letter is great both in business and in personal correspondence. A good letter never fails to impress. A badly written letter may even lead to misunderstanding. A letter, therefore, can be seen as a substitute for conversation. It is nothing but speaking with a pen, my dear friends. It should therefore be simple in form and natural in style, as if the writers were actually speaking to the addressee. The objective, my dear friend, therefore, of any letter writer is to convey a message to the person at the receiving end, there being no personal contact. This is therefore natural that language should be simple, clear, and concise. The style of letter should be adapted to the person and the subject concerned. In general, like I have already mentioned, there are two types of letter: formal, that are written to convey business information, and informal, which will help you develop emotional bonds with family and friends. Formal letters are sent out when we need to write various information to public bodies or agency for our requirement in civic life. For example, we might have to ask for a certificate or to inform a change in our address. A letter is usually one in a series of exchanges between two people or parties. To superior, it should be respectful; to juniors, courteous; and to friends, familiar; to relations, affectionate; to children, simple and playful. Other important subjects, it should be logical; lighter subjects, easy and flowing; tender and sympathetic for condolence; lively and joyful for congratulation. In business letters, politeness and tact are very important factors, while in personal letters, sincerity is the highest value, my friends. It is therefore essential to learn not only the technique but also the art of writing letters through constant practice. The key features for good letter writing. First, we have to always remember, friends, that to be able to do so, it is often advisable that letters should often be short and to the point. It should be concise, factual, and focused. You should always try to limit your message to one page, or you will be in risk of losing your reader. While writing a letter, remember the recipient's need. The next point that you should remember, dear learners, is that you need to provide all necessary information in simple and appropriate language that shall be understood by all. Next, you have to focus on the opening and closing of a letter. Opening of a letter in the correct manner is the most important practice that is needed to make a letter successful. Formal letter open with a particular structure and greeting that is formal in nature. Informal letters, however, can be addressed to the person by their name or any informal greeting as the writer wishes. Even when closing the letter, it must be respectful and one has to keep in mind for whom it is intended. Formal letters should always end respectfully and impersonally, while formal letters, my dear friend, can have a more personal touch. Following these factors in letter writing, you should also try to maintain a habit of dividing your letter into short sections and use a lot of informative headings so that you can make your message clear to your readers. Headings will help you keep your sections short, especially if your headings are very specific. Write what you have to say clearly, briefly, and precisely. Always remember to be courteous and tactful while writing. Avoid offensive and boring remarks. Never fail to date your letter. And lastly, my dear friends, it is always essential to check your spelling and grammar. Reread and revise before delivering it to your audience or reader. The next point, which I feel is important to all the above mentioned point in this module, is that to write a good letter, you must first identify what type of letter you are writing and why. Next, you should focus on opening the letter correctly, following a particular structure that shall keep greetings and information either formal or informal. Once you start writing your letter, make sure you go to the point as soon as possible. Especially in formal letter, my dear friends, it is important to immediately make the purpose of the letter clear to your reader. A letter is always supposed to be polite and considerate. Even if it is a complaint letter, the point must be made in a very careful and courteous manner. So it is necessary to use polite expressions and civil language in all types of letter. And the most important factor to be considered in the length of the letter you're writing. It should be kept in mind that formal letters are generally to the point, precise and short, like I have been mentioning throughout the model. Lengthy formal letters tend to not have the desired effect on the readers, while length of an informal letter is determined by the message, greeting, and intention, while also keeping in mind the relation to the recipient. In summary, a good letter must be clearly thought out and well organized on paper. It should hold instant attention of the receiver. The message should be easily understood and its appearance should be well balanced. Like a picture in a frame, a letter, remember, carries the unspoken thoughts and silently reflects the personality of the writer. That will be yours, my dear learners. A letter, therefore, should be seen as a creative act of communication. Now, placing all the important characteristics and introductory theories of letter writing, it becomes important for us, my dear learners, to understand the actual method and practice of writing such letters. To do so, I would want you to understand first the main components of letter writing, which we will discuss now in detail. As we realize that letter writing may be considered as one of the most useful forms of communication, it becomes even more important for us to know and understand the various components of a letter. To do so, a list of the main components in letters have been provided so as to guide you to make better skills in expression. The general component and guidelines for letter writing are: first is the sender's address. It should be at the start of the letter, the upper left corner of the page. You should write the sender's complete address, including their entire name, street address, city, state, and PIN code. Next most important thing that needs to be there in the letter is the date. It should always be mentioned in the letter, either at the upper right corner of the page or by skipping a line of the sender's address. Information about the day, month, and the year on which the letter is written is mandatory. Following this, another key component that needs to be there in all letters are the subject of the letter, often written as SUB, sub, and followed by a colon. It should be midway of the paper after the sender's address and the date. It should be short, clear, and precise. It should generally not exceed one line. It is the statement of the topic of a formal letter. Following this, the next important point that we have to consider while writing a letter is greeting / saturation. Following the subject, skip a line to mention either a formal or an informal greeting, as is the requirement of the paper. In a formal letter, you should write Dear Mrs., Miss, last name, or Sir/Ma'am, if you are not closely connected and do not know their identity. While in a formal letter, you can be more expressive and write the first name to indicate and close emotional bonding with the sender. Next that you have to focus while writing a letter is the body, the actual body, my dear learners, of the letter. After skipping a line of the greeting, you need to start the letter. It basically should include the actual and full message of the letter. Generally, it is expected that you separate your thoughts in different paragraphs in the body of your letter so that your letter writing is more presentable. Leave a blank line between paragraphs. In case of a formal letter, try to write it within 3 paragraphs. And in case of informal letter, it may be a personal decision. Paragraph 1, informal letter, should mainly include the introductory statement, which should be regarding our own introduction and purpose of writing the letter. This should be done in brief. Paragraph 2 should include all the details, facts, and figure that describe the purpose of the letter, while paragraph 3 should comprise of the concluding statement and state your hope and expectation from the receiver. Once this is done, another component that comes important to us while writing a letter is the subscription. After closing the body of the letter, one needs to incorporate a subscription. To do so, skip a few lines after the main body of the letter, then add either sincerely, your faithfully, or regards, or anything that you find similar in expression. These help you to bring a closure to your entire letter writing experience. It should always be reflected in the lower right corner of the page. Whether the letter is official or casual, a comma should always follow the word or phrase you choose to close it with. Next point that you need to consider in the component writing of a letter are the signature text. For that, you need to skip 3 lines where your handwritten signature will be inserted, and you need to also input your entire name in this part. On the next line of the formal letter, you should also add your job title. Another point of consideration or component for consideration, my dear learners, should be the enclosure. It is not a compulsion and it is not always used, but can be frequently encountered. Enclosure is generally found in cases of formal letter when you attach other documents for the pursuit of your request or situation through the letter. You need to add a section inserting them in details. Documents could include checks, testimony, office order, notice, booking details, and additional papers. These mentions should be titled as enclosure and should always be followed by a colon. The list should be mentioned after skipping a line and generally should be numbered. The last part of the component that we need to consider while writing a letter should be also the recipient's address. It is the address of the sender. It should either be mentioned after skipping a line of the sender's address or after skipping a line of the signature's text. It should include the recipient's name, title, name of the firm or organization, and their postal address. Next point, which is very uncommon but you might encounter as a component in letter writing, is postscript. This is an extra text or message added to the letter after the signature, usually done as an afterthought or additional information. Now, since we have acquainted ourselves with the main components of letter writing, it is only important for us, dear learners, to move to the most important and practical section of this model, which will discuss the types of letter writing. Letter writing can be distinguished on the basis of the content, formality, purpose, and etc. Hence, type of letter writing can be broadly classified into 2 types: formal letter writing and informal letter writing. First, I would like to discuss with you all what is a formal letter. Formal letter, my dear friends, is generally written for business houses, customers, government officials, schools, college authorities, editors, colleagues, strangers, and acquaintances. As the term itself indicates, a formal letter is written in a formal style. That is, the language and tone is formal, impersonal or object, but pleasant. Therefore, it precludes any informal expressions. Therefore, it omits any informal expressions, greeting, or contracted forms of word. The language is straightforward and to the point. Though at times a formal letter may be strongly worded, it should never be rude or impolite. The different types of formal letters are: first, business letter. These letters are generally written to an employer of the same company, by an employer to his employee, to the suppliers or other business partners, or even in case with deals to be made with customers. Second letter that we can consider is applications. These letters are usually seen as a cover when we apply for job position within an organization or an institute. Application letter can be written for many purposes like jobs or college applications for admission, or another situation where it could be used is leave application for seeking gap from your service from your organization. Third is recommendation letter. Such letters are required by the employee or authority to know more about the employee or applicant from a different perspective. Recommendation letters are written by those people who are in a good relationship with the employee or applicant to get a well-rounded view of the person. Fourth, inquiry letter. These letters are used to ask detailed and direct questions, usually bullet listed, to deliver or request information from the recipient. Fifth, resignation letter. These letters are generally written by an employee who wishes to leave his or her job. This letter is sent to the immediate senior of the employee you wish to resign. 6. Invitation letter. Such letters are written to invite and urge receivers to attend a party or a meeting organized by the sender. 7. Order letter. Such letters are sent by a consumer and received by a supplier in order to ask the supplier for a certain amount of products. 8. Sales letter. These letters are intended to get the readers to purchase an advertised product. Usually, persuasive statements are used to attract the attention of the prospective buyer and increase the sale of the product. 9. Dismissal letters. These are issued when a company wishes to inform you of its employees that are no longer required to provide the service, so they must leave the position. Next, which is the 10th kind of letter that we'll discuss under formal letter writing, is transfer letter. These are issued by an organization or company to inform one of its employees that they will be transferred from one department to another department, or from another city or district to another. Next is apology letter. It is issued when the sender wishes to apologize for any action that has brought negative consequences for the receiver. Congratulation letter. These letters can be written for different reasons, like promotion or winning a prize at school or for participating in a competition. These have more joyful expressions but very sincere and serious in its tone. The last and the most important, my dear friends, is memo, which is also known as, or the full form of it being, memorandum or memo that we use for shorthand, are used in place of formal letters for internal communication. These may be used in the workplace to present information, to provide direction or reminder, or to propose an idea. While memos are often succulent, they can be very difficult to write, precisely because you need to get straight to the point to get your ideas across correctly. A poorly written one may confuse your superiors or your colleagues, and precious time may be wasted. So you need to be very careful and clear while preparing your own memos. This article, through this module, we've tried to show you different types of formal letter writing so that you can accurately use the format that you are required to do so as to create an impression amongst your colleague. Next, that we shall discuss as another major type of letter writing is informal letters. Informal letter writing is used to write letters to relatives and friends. Since such letters are personal in nature, they should be written in simple, clear, easy to understand, natural and lively style, just as one talks to a friend or relative. The different types of informal letters are: number 1, personal letter. In such letters, you can share and express your feelings with a friend, family, or your spouse. One may inquire about the well-being and health of a friend or relative through informal letters. These letters include notes of invitation, letters of congratulations, condolence, recommendation, introduction, and request. In this sense, it is a broad category that can include varied kinds of information such as the sudden demise of someone, apologizing, congratulating someone for their accomplishment, anniversary greetings, birthday greetings, or success or promotion in one's career. Seeking personal and emotional and financial help from a relative can also become a part of informal letters, or trying to make a bond with a cousin of yours can also belong to this category. These letters can also be sent along with personalized gift. Another very famous type of informal letter that you can encounter is letter of invitation. In this, you may write a letter to a friend or relative to invite him or her to a party, wedding, or any informal function. For example, for a birthday party, or also invite them for a vacation or a weekend plan that you wish to spend with them so as to increase your emotional bonding to them. A sample of both these formats have been provided in the TLM or in the learning material that will be supplemented with these video sessions. Following this, we come towards the end of the module, but before doing so, it is important to understand the skills that are needed for effective letter writing. As letters are intended to carry messages, it is important to do it the right way. And to be able to do so, one should be well aware of the various letter writing formats, for it is the most essential part in letter writing. To achieve this, my dear learners, you will need to develop important communication and creative skills to be able to write letters effectively, which could consequently increase your value in front of others. The most important skill that needs to be there in letter writing should be to find the appropriate ways to deliver and document messages. In order to do so, you should always try to maintain a certain level of seriousness to the message and intention of the recipient. Such an attitude, my dear friends, shall help you to strengthen your language and communication skills. While these features may appear desirable, it will require a lot of practicing of both reading and writing skill. This seems important as it can consequently help you to also learn new words and using them in an appropriate manner. It will also help you, my dear friends, to expand your vocabulary and gain a better command of language, as well as to be able to emphasize the most important aspects and information in the letter. This trend in letter writing makes it appear as a treasure of emotion, achievement, bonds, and message delivery between the sender and the recipient. As we reach the conclusion of the module, you should have learned and understood the needs of writing effective letters, especially in the age of internet, email, SMS, and satellite communication. Hopefully, the next time when you apply for a job or write a letter in a professional environment, these tips will be of great help to you. By following this suggestion, you can not only create goodwill, but also write effective letters that can help you get a favorable position. Hope this module was hopeful to all of you to write good letters in personal and professional capacity. With this, we shall end this module. See you all soon.